Hello Vault Heads, this is the self-proclaimed, sarcastically named Captain KeyForge, also known as PJ Broughton of the Steel City Snufflegators. Welcome to the latest episode of Captain's Commpod. This week is going to be a little bit similar to last week, where I'm going to talk about some of my favourite cards from KeyForge, although this week it's going to be my least favourite cards from KeyForge. So like last week, I've picked one artifact, one action, one upgrade and one creature, and I've picked my least favourite one of all of those cards. We're going to play the game just like last week, so you can guess the house, you can guess the card, and then I'll talk about why. So first of all is my least favourite upgrade, which out of all these four cards is my most favourite, which is why we're talking about it now. So which house do you think my least favourite upgrade card belongs to? I've got a moment to think about it. Take a wild punt, and it belongs to House Mars. So yes, think about the Mars upgrades that have been in the game. Which Mars upgrade do you think is my least favourite upgrade in the game, and why? So yeah, have a think. Couple more seconds to go. Okay, it's Containment Field. I don't absolutely despise this, to be fair, but it's got no amber pip on it. After this creature is used, destroy it. It's just a little bit of an over for me. If it had an amber pip on it, I'd probably feel a lot better about it. Plus as well, if you put this onto something that's got a passive ability like Mother, Daughter, Senator Brachus, Dusk Witch, Hunting Witch, loads of creatures in the game. If you did that to me, I just wouldn't use a creature, and then after this creature is used, destroy, it's not going to trigger. I mean, it's not horrendous. It can be useful. It's going to stop players from reaping with a creature. It's going to stop players from fighting with a creature. It is potentially a little bit useful. For those reasons, it is, for me, above the other cards in the list. I just... upgrade wise, there's none really that I despise. There's none that I despise seeing in my decks when I draw them. There's none that I despise seeing across from me. Some upgrades are absolutely brilliant, but yeah, this is... I don't really think it's great. I don't dislike the design of it, because the design's all right. It's just there's not enough going on for me. People who know me will tell you that I essentially don't like cards that stop my opponent from playing, and I like to be able to use my cards, make my own choices. If I'm playing a game, surely I should be able to actually play the game, make my own choices, make my own decisions, use my cards. Otherwise, what's the point? So yeah, never particularly been a big fan of saying no to your opponent. Well, you might as well play solitaire then. If all you want to do is say no to your opponent, play solitaire. So yeah, don't despise it, but it's my least favourite one, because it's just a little bit boring and a little bit underpowered, and not my kind of play style. So that next brings me to my least favourite artifact, which I dislike more than that card, but less than the action and the creature. So which house do you think my least favourite artifact belongs to? Have a guess, have a think, have a guess. You've got a couple more seconds to think about it, or pause it and take as long as you like. But it comes from House Shadows. Now, I like playing Shadows. I play Shadows a lot. A lot of my decks have got Shadows in. I mentioned Too Much to Protect in the last one. But which Shadows artifact do you think is my least favourite Shadows artifact? Have a think. Well, I've gone for Archon's Revenge, which is one of the ship cards from Dark Tidings. Again, no amber pip. Action: exhaust up to 2 friendly shadows creatures. For each one exhausted this way, steal 1 amber. Now, they've got to be in play. They've got to be ready. I can't use them to fight, reap, or whatever. And I exhaust them and steal 1. Also, as well, this artifact doesn't come with an amber pip. So you could play it and not actually generate a single point of amber off it all game. Because if every single one of your Shadows creatures gets destroyed before you get the opportunity to use them, this will never trigger. If you do get them in play and ready, I mean, you're essentially reaping and stealing it from your opponent, because it's not they get to they gain, reap, steal 1 or anything like that. They just steal 1. So you don't gain any more than you would have done from them reaping. You just take it from your opponent, Brie, and if your opponent hasn't got any, or if your opponent's got a card in play that doesn't allow stealing, which is, there's not a lot of those to be fair, but 1 or 2. Yeah, I mean, it's slow amber control. It's really specific and really conditional and hard to work. Not a fan. I said this was the worst of all the ship cards from Dark Tidings. Again, I'd feel like the other card, I'd feel a lot better about it if it had an amber pip. I honestly, in some decks, could see this being a chain. I really could. If you only got 3 Shadows creatures and they were low power, you're never going to use this card. Literally just going to be a chain in your deck that doesn't get you a point of amber and never triggers. And again, a card that's really hard to trigger is not a card I'm a fan of. And some cards as well, when you look at them, I think in some decks they're going to be even harder to trigger. So yeah, you should have been a bit better, really. I'm more than happy to see this across from me. Don't particularly want to see it in my decks. I mean, I certainly don't, I don't mind playing against it, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to use it. And that's why I picked that card. So the next one's the Action. So of all of my 4 least favourite cards of each type, which house do you think my least favourite action belongs to? Again, you can have a moment, you can pause it, you can stop and think, have a guess. Last chance. House Untamed. Okay, so my least favourite action in the game comes from House Untamed. So next question is, which card is it? So which Untamed action card is my least favourite action in the game? Again, have a think, pause it if you want. Last chance. Save the Pack. That is my least favourite one. So Save the Pack, no amber pip. Bit of commonality with this no amber pip larky, isn't there? Destroy each damaged creature, gain 1 chain. Well, as anyone who's played a few games of KeyForge knows, most creatures don't get damaged. Most creatures get destroyed. You never usually fight unless you're going to kill the creature you fight, or unless you've got a fight ability. Most cards that deal damage, where you choose to use them against a creature you're going to destroy. That tends to happen. So something that destroys each damaged creature, well, it's not ideal, really. You can play lots of games where you've both got 5 or 6 creatures down, and literally probably there's only like 1 or 2 damaged creatures out of all of them, because you shoot to kill. You shoot to kill in KeyForge. If you're going to fight something, you take it off. If you're going to damage something, more often than not, you take it off. You don't part damage something, leave it on. It's like, why did I bother? You will always look to take it off. I think every single board wipe is more useful than this one. Even stuff like Spirit's Way, even destroy each creature over power 3. Again, you can do a bit with it yourself. Yeah, I don't think it's great. Will it never trigger? Well, of course it will occasionally trigger, but yeah, it's not going to trigger very often. Where you play it, it's not going to take out many creatures. It certainly doesn't feel to me worth one chain. And I don't ever think you're particularly going to clear a board with it. I also know someone, they either won or finished second in a reversal tournament with a deck that had 3 of these in it, and this was the cornerstone of their deck, the fact that it had 3 of these. So yeah, not something I want to see, not something I want to actually play, not something I think is going to be particularly impactful or even work. And those are all triggers for me of cards that I think are not great and that I don't particularly want to see in my decks. So yeah, that's going to bring us on to my least favourite creature and also my least favourite card in the game. I did look through the cards when I was doing this, so you know, this one definitely was the one that leapt out at me. Which house do you think it belongs to? Which house is my least favourite creature in the game and also my least favourite card in the game? Brobnar. I mean, that's not a shocker if we're all thinking about Worlds Collide, but I actually like Brobnar. The first deck I got was a Brobnar deck, and I liked them in Quarter and AOA. But which Brobnar card do we think is my least favourite Brobnar card in the game? I don't think this one's actually much of a surprise once you learn the house. It's Gargantis Crapper. Power 3, 0 armor, alpha, groan. Play, if you have 3 Ember or more, deal 3 damage to an enemy creature. Right, the playability is not actually that bad. But like a lot of Brobnar cards that appeared in Worlds Collide, although this was originally AOA, it gets nothing for fighting at all. It's also one of the weakest powered Brobnar creatures in the game. I mean, it's a giant. It's a power 3 giant. This thing doesn't even work well with Drummernaught because it's alpha. So you can't return it to your hand with Drummernaught and play it again. Brilliant. What are they thinking? I've got a deck with like 2 of these things in it. Can only play 1. It's a pain. It's a real pain. I've my worst Worlds Collide deck has got one of these. It's got 2 of these actually, and Cowfine, and it's also got a copy of the Flex. So the most you can possibly get out of the Flex in that deck is hit Cowfine with it for 1 more amber than you would get, but as well two of these. Oh dear, yeah. I actually like the design choice of Alpha and Omega. I do like them. I just would have maybe liked them to be limited to 1 per deck so that you don't get multiple alphas of 1 house in your hand and can't play them, or maybe 1 per house. 2 alphas per house is an awful idea and should be taken out of the algorithm. 2 omegas per house is an awful idea and should be taken out of the algorithm. They severely impact decks. So yeah, very little I like about this card, and yeah, most of it, I can't think of a deck that I've got it in that I like it being there and wish that it wasn't anything else. Even just a vanilla Brobnar 2 power creature with nothing would be better because the alpha makes it suck as well. So yeah, those are my 4. What do you think? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What are yours? Some of you commented last week on what you thought yours were, so that was great. Carry on, feel free, fill your books. Love to see it, love to talk about it. You know where I am. I'm on some of the Discords, I'm on Twitter, I'm on email. I appreciate you coming and joining me. Thank you very much for that. I'm glad that you stayed till the end of another Captain's Commpod. We'll be back again sometime next week, possibly talking about ideas that was kindly donated. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. And as ever, may the forge be with you.